Hello, good evening. I am Samuel Kojo Brace, and this is Joy News Prime. Welcome. In our headlines, this Supreme Court urges Chief Justice to investigate Court of Appeal Judge Emmanuel Ankama for controversial ruling which the court says shows he has been biased against one side. Also, as we build up towards the much-anticipated Joy News Hotline documentary titled A Nation That Begs, we check the pulse of Ghana's age-old debt crisis. Also, Speaker of Parliament rallies Ghanaians to support the Green Ghana project, warning that the environment is in danger and all must do its part to save it. Meanwhile, German Ambassador Daniel Kroll is urging the government of Ghana to live up to expectation in the fight against illegal mining. Now, it is not enough to plant trees, tackle illegal mining, deforestation, and mark out forest belt in every city across the country. That's the advice from the German ambassador to Ghana to the government of Ghana as the country marks the Green Ghana nationwide tree planting exercise Friday. Ghana is seeking to reverse a possible sanction following the approval of the new European Union law on deforestation, which will make it impossible for cocoa to be sold in Europe unless the supplier certifies that the produce does not come from a deforested land. However, given Ghana's heightened level of illegal mining, there are fears that the main cash crop, cocoa, may be heavily impacted. Speaking after a tree planting ceremony at the German Embassy Gardens earlier today, the German ambassador to Ghana, Daniel Kroll, said illegal mining should not be allowed to prevail. He's asking the government to live up to expectation in tackling the menace. Meanwhile, the German government decided to honor former chair of the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, Professor Frimpong Kwabena for his dedication towards tackling climate change. The former government appointee who Friday joined the Germans for a ceremonial tree planting exercise today added his voice to the need for an end to tackling deforestation and the menace of illegal mining.
As you know, I'm very fascinated about the environmental situation in Germany. And when you invited me, I reminded you about the things that I learned or saw. In every German city, you find a belt of forest linking various suburbs of the city. For example, in Germany, you could walk from, say, Adabraka to the Central Business District, across to Osu or somewhere, all through forests that have been laid in every city. So everywhere is cool and it's very commendable. You find young and old cycling, jogging, and at times walking off into some restaurants that are established in these forest areas. And so this is something that I wish that we could do in Ghana, planting trees, maintaining our forests, and then leaving gardens in our towns and our cities so that people could go there for recreation and for health reasons. Sometimes in Ghana, if a forest or a green area is left, they say, oh, why are you wasting the land? We should go and build there. No, it's not a waste. Because I always say that the trees are our pharmacy. The plants give us the drugs that we use. 25% of all drugs we use in the hospitals are plant-based, are from plants. At the same time, the trees give us the oxygen we breathe, and then they take the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. So in a way, the trees are our lungs. And again, most of the food that we eat are from plants and trees. So the trees are our supermarket. So anytime we are planting a tree, we know we are establishing a supermarket, a pharmacy, or our lungs. A question, whether Ghana is going to be sanctioned by the international community for our failure to meet the targets. I'm not afraid of sanctions from our partners. But the difficulties that we are going to have ourselves, when we destroy our water bodies, we destroy the forest, we are no longer able to use the water, we are losing our biodiversity, people will be getting sick from pollution. Those things alone will be enough sanctions on us. And these are the things that we have to stop so that we don't sanction ourselves with sanctions that will find it very difficult to meet, to meet and solve. So let's not be afraid of sanctions from human beings, but the sanctions that we impose on ourselves because of the wrong things that we do. So thank you very much for that question. Very appropriate.
Now, it is not enough to plant trees, tackle illegal mining, deforestation, and mark out forest belt in every city across the country. That's the advice from the German ambassador to the government of Ghana as the country marks the Green Ghana nationwide tree planting exercise Friday. The Ghana is seeking to reverse a possible sanction following the approval of the new European law that requires that suppliers of cocoa that is supposed to be sold in Europe will do so by certifying that the cocoa is coming from a non-deforested land. However, given Ghana's heightened level of illegal mining, there are fears that the main cash crop, cocoa, may be heavily impacted. Speaking after a tree planting ceremony at the German embassy gardens earlier today, the German ambassador to Ghana, Daniel Cross, said illegal mining should not be allowed to prevail. He's asking the government to live up to its petition in tackling the menace. Joining us is the Public Affairs Manager of Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, who joins us via Zoom on this development. Grateful to you for joining us. Does the Cocoa Board acknowledge that illegal mining has an impact on the sector?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Kojo. Let me say that it affects cocoa in different ways. With a number of occasions, had the opportunity to talk about the impact of illegal mining on cocoa industry. However, on this specific issue raised by the the German ambassador concerning the EU legislation, I will say that Cocoa Board has put in place the necessary measures that ensures that we do not fall foul or we are not found wanting when it's time for the implementation of the EU legislation. I will say so because already we have a system, a robust system put in place that has taken the spatial maps of all cocoa farms in Ghana. So by October this year, when that is rolled out, we can do 100% traceability that ensures that we are in a position to account for every cocoa that is produced in Ghana. What this law seeks to do is to prevent cocoa produced in forest zones. And this system we have put in place is one that will help us to be able to account for every cocoa and where the cocoa is produced. Over the years, what we've had is a system that is able to help us track cocoa from the district level to the ports. But this time around, we are able to account for cocoa and where it is produced. In terms of the illegal mining and its effect, what illegal mining does is that at the time of doing the national assessment, in terms of the level of degradation or the destruction of our forest, affect the scrutiny a country has to go through. We are only lucky because we have such a system in place that insulates us from the possible sanctions. But indeed, the illegal mining has had some effect and damage to us. I mentioned that illegal mining has affected us in different ways, probably at a different fora or time. We can talk about it. But the assurance I want every Ghanaian, especially cocoa farmers, to have is that we have a system in place that will help us to be able to escape possible sanctions as a result of the implementation of the law.
In fact, you are quoted in an article published on Major Online on 12th September last year as saying, quote, the dangers of deforestation in cocoa growing communities is already staring us in the face, unquote there. Is it possible that a possible restriction of our cocoa on the European Union market? You've already stated that you've begun a process that would help us evade this sanction if it comes. But is there any possibility that we may be restricted on the European market?
We do not foresee that happening because July this year will start the testing of tracing every cocoa produced in Ghana. And from October, we'll do a full rollout of all the traceability system we have put in place. and this is ahead of the implementation of the EU law. So clearly, we will be able to account for every cocoa and where it's produced. So for that reason, we do not anticipate or do not foresee some sanctions being applied against us because we have a system that will insulate us from such sanctions. Bear in mind, what they are looking for is evidence. Evidence to state that the particular cocoa that is being exported is not one that is coming from a deforested land.
Okay.
And the system we have put in place is one that will be able to provide evidence or account for every cocoa that is produced. So yes, it comes at a cost, but the system has been put in place, and we shall therefore be able to produce cocoa sustainably and provide traceability trace that justify that we are not one that is producing cocoa from deforested land. Bear in mind, what the EU law seeks to achieve, or what is requesting of us, is that from 2020, we are not to enter any forest zone. The system we have put in place is one that also takes the GPS location of every farm. So if every farm which is within a forest zone, because we superimpose what we have done with the Forestry Commission map, we'll be able to identify any farm that's within the forest zone. And as I said, the farmer cannot sell the cocoa to Ghana, for which reason Ghana will risk the EU sanctions.
How are we then going to expand in terms of getting new land to cultivate in order to increase our yield?
Of course, not every land is within the forest zone. So yes, we can look for plots of land that are outside the forest zone, but it's illegal to enter into the forest zone to say that you are using it to cultivate cocoa. So definitely we will not enter the forest zone. We will make sure that we stay off the forest zone, because if you do, it will bring you possible sanctions, and that is what we've been working to ensure that it does not happen.
Okay. All right. Grateful to you for joining us this evening. Now, moving on to other stories. Court of Appeals Judge Emmanuel Ankama is to be investigated by the Chief Justice regarding how he handled a case involving the estate of a deceased pastor while he was a High Court judge in Tema. A 5-member Supreme Court panel with Justice Victor Jones Doche presiding called for the investigation, insisting the conduct of Judge and Registrar Sebastian Agbo has the potential to affect the image of the judiciary. The Judicial Service has, in a statement, announced that the registrar has been dismissed. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
Following the death of one Reverend Iman Odogbaji, a dispute arose as to who should administer his estate. The matter ended up at the Tema High Court, presided over at the time by Justice Ankama. Documents were filed to prevent proposed administrators of the estate from getting permission to administer it. Justice Ankama is said to have struck out this process, even though it was not listed for hearing, and failed to give the parties in whose favor they were issued a hearing. Justice Doche ruled that the court breached the rules of natural justice, as the evidence on the record showed that the case was heard on the blind side of those who had filed the documents. According to Justice Doche, the irregular manner in which the case was handled pointed to the fact that the presiding judge appeared to be biased against the applicants. He also wondered why Justice Ankama struck out the documents when the issues raised were of utmost importance, as it raised questions of capacity of the parties who filed the letters of administration. Aside from setting aside the decision of the Tema High Court, the Supreme Court also prohibited Justice Ankama and the Registrar of the High Court from ever dealing with the case. He further expressed concern about how properties belonging to the deceased were valued. A hospital at Obuasi was valued at 60,000 cedis, a school at Obuasi at 35,000 cedis, and the house of the deceased at Tema valued at 30,000 cedis. The Judicial Secretary has meanwhile announced in a statement that the Registrar of the Tema Land Court, Sebastian Agbo, has been dismissed for fraudulently preparing 30 court orders.
Now, for some days now, we have been sharing with you our exclusive interview with Professor Frimpong Boateng, former Environment Minister and Chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. In a chat with Evans Mensah, he said he is upset and disappointed by attempts to demonize his work as Chairman of the Interministerial Committee against Illegal Mining. He added that though he is not perfect, he sees no wrong in his past conduct, and therefore his arrest by the Special Prosecutor came to him as a surprise. What is Professor Boateng's crime? Make a date with Samson Ladi Ayenene tomorrow on Newsfile as he hosts the special prosecutor, Kisi Ejabeng. The show begins at 9 a.m. Honey, don't miss this. To other stories now, and the Member of Parliament for Naleregu Gambaga, Alhaji Baba Seidu Isifo, has pledged to reconstruct the Kufuor Junior High School that has collapsed 2 months ago by a rainstorm. Education is set to be grinding to a halt in the community following the collapse of the school block, as teaching and learning are being conducted under a tree. The Member of Parliament says an arrangement is underway for the construction of a new classroom block for pupils in the area. Alhaji Baba Seidu accused the government of neglecting the needs of the constituent. Eliasu Tanko reports.
The mud structure was constructed in 2003 through a self-help initiative by members of the community. According to the residents, they took up the initiative after several failed efforts to get authorities to build a junior high school block in the community. After the construction, the facility was approved and admitted as a public junior high school in the Eastman Presi municipality. Sadly, however, according to the residents, since its adoption as a public school, no serious effort has ever been made to construct a befitting classroom block for the pupils. The facility, therefore facing years of neglect, eventually collapsed in April 2 months ago after a violent rainstorm hit the area.
We have nothing to do again, but we have tried. Since 2003 up to today, we don't get any single block. And we don't know how to do. We beg, we don't know whether the government have been forget about it or we announce us. We don't know.
The situation has displaced the school children, among them candidates preparing to write their basic education certificate examination, and classes and other academic works are now being conducted under trees.
They feel lazy to come to school. And also their parents also decide to send them to farms and also give them out for marriage because they don't even see anything good in the school.
Their father don't accept us to come to school again. So now they say they will let us go to bush or farm.
The residents say the municipal assembly authorities are yet to visit the community and address the challenge after the incident.
If I have my own power, I would have let them remove this. I would have removed the education director from the district level. Why am I saying so? You can't sit here and these things are all have been happening and you are so silent yourself. You are so comfortable with yourself and you don't mind it at all.
The Member of Parliament, Alhaji Baba Seidu Yusufu, who was, however, in the community, has pledged to build a new school block for the children.
For centuries now, that community does not have a school. The inhabitants came out to do some mud structure, and that is where they have their teaching and learning. And I had to stop my campaign to go there to sympathize with them. And as I'm talking to you, I've made them to make some estimates for me to see how we can collaborate with the community to construct a primary school, a befitting primary school for them. And also we want to use my network with other philanthropists to see how they can come in to help us with this predicament. So I was there.
Member of Parliament also accused the government of neglecting the needs of his constituents.
It is not about tokenism. The government is doing tokenism, and that is not acceptable. And that is our predicament in this constituency. As if we don't exist. As if we don't exist. And it's a worrying situation for me. So I'll continue to do my work. I'll continue to leverage on my network. I'll continue to put pressure on them for us to register the kind of development we are looking for.
Eliasu Tanko reporting for Joy News.
Now, all fingers are not equal. But that's not the only variation in life. Another disparity in life is seen in the days of the week, with each day serving as a completely different experience. In the last shot of our Remember series on Professor Ama Teedu, we bring you extract of a poem, The Days, read by Ghanaian filmmaker and culture activist Akofa Ejani.
Ama Teedu's Days. All the days are not equal, said the old village wall. Sunday starts the week, then Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday for midweek, Thursday to follow, Friday comes after. Some days that are sunny and quite warm all the way. Some days are green with the greenness of leaves. Some days are gold, they glitter, they shine. There are days that are long, like the steps of a giant. There are days that feel so wrong, you could hit them with a gong. There are days that are tired, like an old age, weak and tired. Some days are longer than the neck of a giraffe. Other days are shorter than the finger of a hand. There are days which are happy, they can laugh out loud, but some days are grouchy, they snarl and they bite. There are days that feel good, like sleeping in mother's arms. There are days that are bad, they hurt, they drag. Some days are full of ice, other days are just mouths. Some days crawl like snails, other days run like hares. There are days that are boastful like champions before a fight, but some days are very shy like our first morning at school. There are strange days and busy, very sour and hard to bite. Yes, some days are easy, full of sugar, fruit and spice. There are days that are bouncy like a football on a field. There are days that stand still like soldiers on parade. Some days can sing, some days only scream. There are blue days with red streaks and brown days with black spots. Each day has hours of 10, 10 and 4. But each day is different in one way or more. All the days are not equal, said the old village wall.
And that's a beautiful piece by Professor Ama-Ata Edu. On that note, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back from the break now. Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin is warning that if immediate steps are not taken to reclaim lost forest cover, the country could face serious environmental challenges. The Speaker has been rallying Ghanaians to involve themselves in the project and help save the environment. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante reports from Parliament.
The Speaker led leadership and staff of Parliament to plant 300 trees within the precinct of Parliament and official residences. The Speaker says if urgent action is not taken to reclaim Ghana's lost forest cover, the country could be in serious danger of environmental catastrophe.
Trees and forests purify the air we breathe, filter harmful particles and pollutants, and ensure the well-being of our citizens, especially those in urban areas where air pollution is very, very high. And I'm sure that you've seen on TV many times that the air in Accra is among the highest in the world. It's not the highest, but among the highest. They say the air pollution in Accra is so bad that we need to act, and act quickly. Trees and forests serve as nature's guardians, regulating water flow, mitigating the risk of flooding, and preserving our precious water bodies. Trees also provide shelter and habitat for countless species, sustaining biodiversity and preserving the delicate balance of our ecosystems. What is more, They have a critical role in combating climate change as they sequester carbon and contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions.
The minority in parliament, however, says government must ensure that the Green Ghana project does not become an avenue to enrich a few. According to Deputy Ranking Member on the Lands and Forestry Committee, Alasan Suhini, such programs in the past have been used to siphon money from the state.
Initiatives such as this, good as they are intended, do not fall victim of corruption or do not become a victim of corruption. It does not become an establishment that is used to siphon money from the taxpayer. Mr. Speaker, and this is important because climate finance has to be, optimized.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo says no such corruption will happen under his watch. He also described the 2 previous editions of the Green Ghana Day as a huge success.
The 2021 planting, we have 80% plus success rate. And the 2022, we have 70% plus success rate.
In all, 10 million trees will be planted for this year's Green Ghana Day, which the President of the Republic, His Excellency Kufuor, is leading. Reporting for Joy News, Kufuor Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Now to Kumasi now, where Asantehene Otumfuo said to the second on Friday joined the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Benito Usubio, to plant trees to mark this year's Green Ghana Day initiative. The ministry has a target of planting over 10 million ornamental and economic trees in a day to restore forests and mitigate the impact of climate change. Speaking on the sustainability of the project, Benito Usubio enjoined Ghanaians to help protect the planted trees. Nanabuachi Yadom has more in the following report.
The Asantehene planted his tree at the Kumasi Royal Golf Park to commemorate the Green Ghana Day. The event is part of the government's drive to aggressively restore degraded lands and depleted forest reserves. Speaking on the sustainability of the project, Deputy Minister for Lands Benito Usubio said the project will be more sustainable in the coming years.
Ghana, we've lost over 80% of our forest cover. How do we get it back? If we say we are doing the usual norm by just planting through Forestry Commission alone, it will take us maybe 1,000 years to get that 80% back. And that is why the president decided that we should, through the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, do aggressive afforestation. One of the anchors of that is Green Ghana, where we get every Ghanaian planting. If, for instance, even every Ghanaian plants 1 tree annually, how much would that be? That would be over 30 million plus.
The Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei Mensah highlighted the importance of Green Ghana Day.
Truly, the Green Ghana Day policy is one of the most important policies of the government because it touches the foundation of the basic survival of the human race. We've always been saying that when the last tree dies, the last human being dies. But we've not taken time to analyze the statement. You know, we human beings, as we stand here, we are breathing in oxygen. And the trees breathe out the oxygen for which we inhale or we take. Then we will breathe out carbon dioxide, which the trees will also use to prepare their food and grow. Do you understand it? So when the last tree dies, that is the oxygen that we will breathe in. It means no oxygen will be available and no human being can survive without oxygen. That is why we see when the last tree dies, the last human being also dies. In this reason, then it behoves on all of us to make sure that we plant more trees such that we can get enough oxygen so that we can also survive as human beings.
Regional Manager at the Forestry Commission, Clement Omare, says the nurturing of the planted trees remains a priority.
I urge all Ghanaians, especially people in the Ashanti region, to pick one seedling and plant so that what we are looking for will be achieved. That we get a total green in the Ashanti region as well as the nation at large. And if you plant and you don't nurture them, then you've done nothing.
So in fact, we are committed to nurture the trees to maturity. And if you look at the previous planting that we did, the success rate were very encouraging. The rate was around 75 to 80%. The whole Ghana, Ashanti region was about 76, and we did very well. And when we do planting and you achieve such a percentage rate, then you are okay. You don't have to do any replanting or what we call it a beating up.
For Joy News, Nana Boachi Down Kwayadom reporting.
To the Upper West now, where the region joined the rest of the country to observe this year's Green Ghana Day. A total of 300,000 trees are expected to be planted in the region. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali urged the people, particularly the youth and women, to embrace sound environmental practices, including passion to plant and nurture trees in the country's collective effort to fight against climate change. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam report from Wa.
This year's commemoration of the Green Ghana Day in the Upper West region was held at the forecourt of the Upper West Regional Hospital. Out of the 10 million trees expected to be planted countrywide, 300,000 of them are to be planted in the Upper West region. Leading the charge is the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, and accompanied by some members of the Regional Security Council, representatives of the Water Overlord, and heads of the centralized departments. Also present at the function were personnel from some selected security agencies and learners from some basic schools in the Wa municipality. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali noted that agriculture is the mainstay of the people in the region, and therefore their livelihoods depends on the environment. He therefore lauded the Green Ghana initiative of President Kufuor, which he stated that will be of enormous benefit to the people of the region due to its proximity to the desert. Dr. bin Sali commended some chiefs in the region for taking giant steps to protect the environment, including the ban on the commercial production of charcoal in their respective communities.
I wish to urge the good people of the Upper West region, particularly women and the youth, to embrace sound environmental practices, including passion to plant and nurture trees in our collective efforts to sustain the environment for the good of our generations and generations after us. Mention can be made of the recent announcement of the ban on the production of charcoal in commercial quantities by the paramount chief of the Polymer traditional area of the Sisala West District, Kuro Usman Nampa II, during the celebration of the 2023 edition of the Gangawi Festival. I highly commend him and all others for their bold initiative taken to protect our environment and assure him of the government's support to enforce the ban.
Using the United Nations Convention report to combat desertification, Dr. bin Sali revealed that 1/3 of the country's land area is affected by desertification. In the case of the Upper West region, it is worse due to its proximity to the Sahara Desert.
This poses a major threat to food and energy security. It is estimated in the same report that about 69% of the total land surface area is prone to severe soil erosion. Against this backdrop, the government of His Excellency Nana Addo Kufuor took drastic and pragmatic measures, including the ban on illegal mining, popularly called Galamsey.
Medical Director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amisie, commended the government for the initiative, disclosing that a greater number of the trees planted last year at the hospital had survived.
We were blessed as a hospital to receive 950 trees planted to mark an occasion exactly like this 1 year ago. If you look around, many of the trees have survived. I can say with a lot of happiness that over 80% of the trees have survived. Even though the trees have not grown fully, they have added to the beauty of our edifice.
Upper West Regional Manager of the Forestry Commission, Godfred Kwashiga, appealed to the participants not to turn their backs on the trees planted, but nurture them to grow.
Let us also be reminded that tree planting is an event. It is a process. So after today, let us continue to care for the trees we plant, ensuring that they are well nurtured and become well established.
Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Now, they came, they saw, and they were conquered. That's the story of the self-taught student of Bia Senior High Technical School during the qualifying stages of the National Science and Math Quiz in the Western North region. Without a dedicated teacher and close to no reference material, the students of Bia SHS took charge of their own education and prepared for the competition. Despite ending the contest with a negative score, they emerged as a symbol of resilience and determination in the face of adversity. My colleague Michael Ashley has the rest of the story.
You've been learning all day long, waited for this moment to come sit here and do our best on stage, hoping we'll get to the national stage.
An honest confession of sleepless nights by students of Bia SHS preparing to contest in the Western North qualifiers. But the contest proved to be a very difficult hurdle.
Yes, Bia.
Recessive.
That is incorrect. Bia, a rectangle with adjacent sides congruent is a square.
It's a false statement. It's a false statement.
That is incorrect. Bia, the image distance is negative 25 centimeters.
True statement.
That is incorrect. Bia, B coordinate 6, 8.
True statement.
That is incorrect. Bia, the image distance is negative 25 centimeters.
True statement.
That is incorrect.
Navigating the path to representing their school proved to be a formidable challenge, as the students encountered numerous hurdles along the way. Without the guidance of a teacher, the contestants were left to their own devices, taking turns to teach themselves.
We don't have menu materials that you'll be learning, so usually we teach ourselves. Like this guy is good at the chemistry aspect and biology aspect, so you go and teach me. I'm general, I learn everything, but he's good. That's its aspect for him. We used to teach ourselves. You go there, teach, we discuss, and like solve further questions under them and know how our stand will be. Our master was like quite busy. He used to come and have a time with us, but we learned ourselves and we've tried.
Preparation was, it was, let's say, to the students, it wasn't enough for us, and we have to devote our time and help each other so that we will develop that collaboration, so that when we come on stage, we will be. Our masters became so reluctant, and we didn't even know that we would come for the contest. So it was impromptu that we are coming for it. So what happened on the stage, those over there, those who are watching us, shouldn't be surprised of it. It's a triumph. We have tried our best, and God determines what it would be. So if I didn't get the last, I would have been the first, but it has turned the other way around. So I would say that I'll thank the Almighty God for that.
In a disheartening turn of events, their efforts culminated in a score that defied expectations.
I was hoping to end this contest without anyone owing me, but Bia is still owing me. So Bia, next year when you come, God willing, I'll take my points, okay? So at the end of the contest, these are the scores. Bia had negative 10 points. Bibiani Senior High Technical School had 11 points. And St. Joseph Senior High School had 30 points. Bia, I'll be generous. I'll give you an early New Year present. So by the end of the year, or by the beginning of next year, your debt will be written off.
Even I don't know what to say. We are overwhelmed with what you just did here. We've tried, but it didn't work out.
We'll make sure we prepare our juniors so that when they also come, they'll come and power the school. Then next year we are coming with a horns now. So as soon as we start the contest, you see Bia, the color of the blue color shining into stars.
So that's a beautiful story of a school that, in the face of adversity, rose to the occasion. And that's how we wrap up the bulletin. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo. Brace coming up next. It's Prime Business.